emerged from the church during the 1990s undoubtedly dealt a serious and lasting blow to the Catholic faith in Ireland. But as Holy Week unfolds and Easter Sunday approaches, how important is religion in your life?
An Irish Examiner investigation has set out to answer this question by looking at how relevant religion is to Irish society. To discuss this, we have journalists from the Examiner, Conor Ryan, and Michael Kelly from the Irish Catholic. They're joining us both this morning. But before we talk to them, let's hear what you had to say when we asked you about the religious significance of Easter Sunday.
Yeah, it's a day that you try to go that in Christmas. It's stuff that you feel guilty if you don't go. Plus, you should make a little bit of effort if you have kids, which I have. So, you know, it's something that we do.
Religious aspect, I'm not terribly religious, but I am aware of the story behind Easter. And I suppose we will go to Mass because I have a young son.
Not be religious mad now, but I still go to Mass and do a few little things. But yes, it's one of the significant times of the year.
Yes, I'll bring my younger children to Mass. My older girl, I don't think, will be going to France.
It's important that we all attend Mass if we possibly can, and I suppose it's each to their own too. But I would personally like to see myself that I'd bring the kids to Mass on a Good Friday or Easter Sunday.
I'm aware of it, but I don't go to Mass anyway.
And why not?
Don't believe in God and all that, so that's just my opinion anyway.
The Holy Sunday or Easter Sunday. But we're mixed religion, so.
Not really. Not really. Yeah. Chocolate.
Oh dear, the significance of Easter Sunday is now chocolate. Conor, good morning, and Michael, good morning too. Conor, I'll start with you first. It's a fantastic investigation. Hats off to the Examiner. It's really well done and really well replicated in the paper. And it's very fascinating. We believe in God, but we don't go to Mass. And how do the two marry? And tell us some more about the stats in the survey, because we're a very conflicted nation when it comes to religion. When we say religion, we should say we're talking about the Catholic religion.
We're talking about the Catholic religion. I think if you looked even at the last CSO, you're talking 87%, 87% of the people would designate themselves as Catholic. Now, anybody who even drifts past a Mass or drifts past a church on a Sunday will tell you 87% of people are not walking about or not making the journey to church. So it was really looking at the remaining people, or those people who have drifted away, where they see themselves, what they actually see, how they even relate to God, to religion, to their past, to their future. Like, where does it actually fit in? Do people go on? What we found is that about 45% of people say they will go to Mass every week, or at least on a regular basis. However, I suppose that leaves the majority of people who wouldn't go to Mass, even the majority of Catholics who wouldn't go to Mass. And of those, they still would hold strongly religious beliefs. They would still believe in God, up around 84%. You still believe in sin, you believe in hell, you believe in the main kind of tenets of the religion, but uneasy with the teachings of the Catholic Church as well, very uneasy with issues of contraception and divorce in particular, where a significant majority of people would just not believe in it. So I think people are just making up their own mind, creating their own relationship with church, which I'd say sits uneasily with the church itself. And we also looked at how the church is surviving and how it's filling the seats, how it's actually, I suppose, paying the bills is another significant thing for going forward and getting people involved.
That's an interesting question, Michael. I mean, you could be cynical and say, that's typical Irish ambiguity, hedging our bets or an each way bet. Or there could be the much more fundamental thing of people still feel a need for it and have the spirituality but have a major problem with the institution.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Examiner, have done the Church a great service in this survey and have done Irish society a great service. There is the need for spirituality out there. People identify themselves as religious overwhelmingly. The figure of people
who... Karl Marx said, if we didn't have religion, we'd need to invent it.
Well,
there is a need in the human being to believe in something greater than themselves.
Absolutely, and I think possibly that's because sometimes people find this world we live in so terrible that there has to be a hope of something better. There has to be a hope of heaven, if you like, an afterlife, or a belief in God. But yeah, that's not transferring into practice, and I think that's maybe a failure on the Church's point of view to tap into that public imagination. Many people don't feel fulfilled going to Mass. They feel the church is a cold and distant institution. Many people as well have felt scandalised by the clerical sexual abuse scandals and have felt that they can't really keep faith with the church. There's about 45% of people go to Mass every week. That's a remarkable figure by Western European standards. If you look in the Diocese of Rome, the Pope's own diocese, it's about 12% of people go to Mass every week. So the Mass attendance in Ireland is still remarkably high. The difficulty will be with falling numbers of priests. The Masses just aren't going to be available. A parish where you might have 4 Masses on a weekend now, you're only going to have 1 Mass.
Does anybody know how many were ordained last year?
There were 9 priests ordained last year and 200 died. So you had 9 priests to replace 200.
10 years ago or 20 years ago.
As opposed to 10 years ago, you would have had about 30 ordained. An interesting statistic, in 1979, when Pope John Paul II visited Ireland, there were 1,000 seminarians training for the priesthood in Maynooth. Now the number's about 70. So that gives you a sense of the terminal decline that there is in vocations, and that obviously works its way into the parishes then, where there isn't the same availability.
I think a question that immediately springs to mind, maybe yours as well, is we know that lasting damage was done to the church during the 80s and 90s with the scandals. Was it the scandals, or was it the way the church dealt with them that actually did the real damage? Or is there any evidence in the report?
I suppose there was significant disagreement or discomfort with how the church actually dealt with it, particularly how it took the bill, how it released, like even the most recent public spat or in the Dublin diocese with regards to release of the files. People overwhelmingly said that those files be released. People feel that people have to be open, have to be trusting of the institution of the church. Now, a lot of people said that whereas it damaged them, they would still identify with it and that they still had faith in the priest. But in child protection measures, which is another question asked, people just didn't feel comfortable with the child protection measures that the church had put in place to ensure that didn't happen again. And I think that's a big challenge, because it does play on the Irish psyche. Everybody knows when people speak about the church that there is kind of there's a little thing, there's a ghost hanging over the shoulder in terms of something that did happen, or something terrible that happened.
But interestingly, it's not cited as the #1 reason for people not attending Mass, because the first thing is it's too time consuming, which I found very bizarre. The second reason is, well, you can tell me, Conor, what was the second reason? They feel it is too relevant to their lives.
Feel it's too relevant, and if you actually look down to the lists of things, of the list of options, there's a lot of things put there as people put down as the reasons for not going to Mass.
And losing faith with the church was third in the list.
There was very few actual theological things. There was very few, and as Michael just said before we came on air, it's 40 minutes. It's not time consuming. Doesn't sit with people who are spending an hour and a half on the M50 trying to get up. It doesn't time consuming, and it just doesn't seem to. I suppose it's an easy thing. It's an easy excuse we make for everything. But there's very few.
Quickly, guys, is the Catholic Church and is religion still well and alive in Ireland? Conor, after doing the survey?
Seems to be very well and alive, maybe not the Christian sense.
I think so. I think it's changing in Ireland, certainly becoming much more pluralistic. But I think what's interesting as well, the vast majority of the 413,000 immigrants who come to Ireland describe themselves as religious as well.
Very devout. Absolutely. Eastern European Catholics, very devout. You made a very interesting point, Michael, which is that the Examiner have done the church a huge favour. But only if they take it on board and don't batten down the hatches, which has been their tendency.
Absolutely, the church has got to respond now. And in terms of the child protection measures that Conor mentioned, the guidelines are there. In fact, the government have said they're more stringent than the government regulations, but the church has obviously failed to communicate that.
Guys, thanks for coming, and we've run out of time. We'll talk about it all day,
Right, let's take the headlines now. Here's Sharon Tobin.